Welcome to Sounding Board. This is a weekly program completely produced and directed by club members of Seroptimus International of Novato. The mission of our organization is to help improve the lives of women and girls. We try to keep our mission in mind when we plan our Sounding Board programs. I have a particular interest in trying to provide the media especially with examples and of strong women who are leaders, especially in our Novato community. And I hope that you take time to share these programs with your kids who are impressionable kids right now, because I think we have a wonderful model for us today as a guest, and that is Lieutenant Jennifer Welch of the Novato Police Department right here. And if you haven't seen her on the streets, here she is now in person. So this is great. So Jennifer, I'm so impressed with you. Actually, I have to tell you, confess, I volunteer at the Novato Police Department one day a week, and I've been able to see Jennifer in action, and she's extremely professional. She's just the model of a person who would represent women in my estimation.
Thank you.
So Jennifer, what did you, as a little girl, did you just grow up wanting to be a police officer?
Not at all. Not at all. Never was a thought in my mind. I actually just went through school not really knowing what I wanted to do, and when I graduated high school I thought that I wanted to be a teacher, and I was going towards that when I went to college and took some liberal arts classes and enjoyed them, but didn't feel like it was going to be enough for me. I felt like I couldn't sit in a classroom or be in a classroom all day. And
so what was that defining moment? That it must have had something. You had this big aha moment.
You know, I signed up for an internship just to get college credits at the local police department up in Chico, at Chico Police Department. And there I spent my Fridays interning in the Investigations Bureau, where I had some really good insight into what that job is and met some really great people, great role models, and definitely gave me the motivation to pursue that as a career. And ever since then, I've changed my career path and started taking criminal justice classes and pursued that as a career goal.
So that should be a little hope to a lot of parents out there who are just frustrated with their teenage daughters saying, get a fix on something.
That's accurate. Huh? I would say that my parents were probably frustrated, thinking that they were sending their daughter off to college with no idea what they thought I was going to do. So it turned out okay, I think.
Well, tell us about the interview process. I understand that interviewing to become a police officer is extremely tedious and time-consuming.
It's a very long process. Currently at the police department, I do have some responsibility in the hiring of police officers. And for me, at 22, I put myself through the police academy. And once I graduated, I started the interview process with several departments in the area, in the Marin County area. Had an interview. From there, it's a polygraph examination, an extensive background investigation where, you know, it's pages and pages of who you've ever, been friends with, who you live with, your bank accounts, and everything you could think of. But that really is a good way to measure someone's character and their background. So it's worth that extra step and the long process. And after a background, a psychological evaluation and a medical evaluation. And then if that was successful, which it was for me, I was given a job.
Fabulous. And you had you were interviewed with 3 different departments from what you told me earlier?
Yes. When I first started out, I interviewed with the Marin County Sheriff's Department and Santa Rosa Police Department and Novato Police Department.
And you were actually able to choose which one you wanted to go to, or?
Oh, no.
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 Oh, okay.
I did have the option of pursuing with the County Sheriff's Department and Novato, and I went along with Novato.
And that's because you grew up in Novato?
I did. I grew up here, and it's definitely brought some extra value to my position, and enjoy working in the community I grew up in.
That's great. That's great. So can you remember back a long time ago, not too long for you, but with your first days on the job, were there any surprises for you as a 22-year-old female on the streets?
It was definitely a new experience when you're off the training program. It's a extensive training program at 16 weeks where you're side by side with somebody learning the job, and then the first night out on your own, it's a little intimidating that there you are given a gun and a badge and all this power and a fast car, and there I am at 22. So it was pretty exciting. So definitely took some effort to channel that excitement into making good decisions on the street and starting relationships with fellow employees and having great friendships.
Great. So what were some of the experiences that you may remember the best in your first year maybe on the job?
There's a lot. I mean, it's always interesting dealing with people that have had too much to drink and have either rude comments or can be pretty entertaining, whether it's marriage proposals or threatening to hurt me or in a joking manner, but some were not so joking. So it's definitely eye-opening, and every night and every day is really a new experience, and that's what's great about this career.
So when somebody says a comment that catches you off guard and it's humorous, do you laugh or do you just
If it's funny, I laugh. It's appropriate. Some things that are not appropriate, I try not to engage somebody with, but just be professional, and you can be a real person and you can laugh, and even if you're taking somebody to jail, and you can still be a real person and have some empathy and be caring, but keep it real as much as you can.
So what was your reaction internally when somebody would maybe propose to you or something like that? I mean, how do you handle that kind of stuff?
Just try to be professional and understand whether they've had too much to drink or they're angry and they're going to spend the night in jail, the place that they're coming from, and try not to take that to heart and understand that you have a job to do and you're going to do your job effectively.
Yeah. Did you ever get really scared sometimes?
Not really. I mean, there are some situations where you look back and you're like, gosh, I should have probably been more aware of this or that. But, we have so much training and we rely on our cover officers and our tools and, our communication skills. And you have to really rely on your training and just go with it.
Yeah, okay. So you've been here in Novato Police Department, and that's the only place you've been. Correct. So have there been any gender issues? We always think of discrimination on the job, with gender issues. So has anything like that ever surfaced for you?
Definitely not. Novato's been a great place to work. And, I really haven't heard of any significant issues anywhere in the North Bay, but I'm sure they're out there. With Novato, the department and the city has been great in offering every opportunity, both for men and women, and just really picking the best person for the job.
Mm-hmm. So when you go out of town on training situations or something like that, are there a lot of female officers in other communities?
Well, it's definitely a male-dominated career still, and more and more there's women showing up in training classes and in our department and other departments. But it's just a life choice, and some women may be intimidated by the career and it's just not for them, and that's the same as men as well. So,
how many women are on the force at Novato?
I believe we have 13.
13?
Yes.
Ooh, and how many officers totally?
60 sworn.
60 sworn. Wow, that's quite a bit.
We do. We have quite a bit.
Many.
Yep.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, so I know Jennifer Tejada was a female officer, and at Novato Police Department, and she recently left and became the chief down in Sausalito, and I think that was probably a very nice leadership position to be a role model for other people, and hopefully she opened up the doors for a lot of people.
Well, certainly she was successful in her career, and she's doing well as the chief of police, and there's definitely many great role models in our career, both men and women. She's a great role model, and certainly, mentors are out there, and it's just a matter of who you connect with and what they can do to help you. And, certainly our department has been open to, like I said, men, women, any race. It's the right person for the right job, and so there are no limits set at our department.
So let's talk about your home life for a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
How does somebody like you juggle all this stuff? And you're married, and you have children, so how does that all work?
It's a challenge at times. I'm married and 2 young children, so it's quite a bit of juggling with the schedules and being flexible both at work and at home. So it's really a challenge. I would say that's my biggest challenge, is trying to balance work life and spending time with my family and keeping things in line at work and staying on top of my work as well. It's a challenge.
And here we're dragging you out in the evening when you should
Yes.
be home having dinner with your
Yes.
family.
I had dinner before I came
Oh,
here.
good. So, do you get help from your family members?
As far as helping with home,
Yeah, just
definitely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have a great family, a lot of friends, but my parents and family is always around, and would not be able to be anywhere near as successful without them. So.
And how about your husband? Does he help around the house?
Oh yes,
Does
yes.
He does a few of the jobs and stuff.
He
like
does
that?
more than his share. He'll tell you that.
That's good. That's good. So, tell us about your career path along the way. I think that was interesting, the steps that you've taken. Now, you're lieutenant. You've been lieutenant for only 4 months, I think. But how did you get? Where did you start, and what jobs have you had along the way that have opened up and developed into a nice career for you?
So right when I was hired, like everybody, go to patrol and work as a patrol officer, and any different shift. I worked night shift and swing shift and day shift.
You always get started on night shift. Is that what happens?
Not necessarily. Usually new people go to the night shift just as you get a little older in your career. I think you like to go maybe to a swing shift where you're not up all night. Some people really enjoy staying up all night. I don't, but I went for it, working night shift. So after I was on patrol, I tested for...
Right, let's go back to that. Just
Yes.
night. What's it like in the night in Novato?
So it's different. I mean, there's definitely a different group of people that are out and about.
Is it pretty quiet?
It is quiet. You drive down Grant at 3 in the morning and it's pretty empty, but every time you see somebody, there's not usually a good reason to be walking down the street, at 3 in the morning unless you're up to something, but you never know.
Interesting. Okay, sorry, I just had to
That's okay.
find out about that.
So after I tested for a school resource officer, I was selected for that position and worked at the schools.
You went to all the schools in Novato?
All the schools within city of Novato, yeah. And really enjoyed that. Loved being with kids. I like to be in the classroom, and we did some teaching for internet safety and sexual assault awareness and a few other things, but I really enjoyed being out at the schools and having that interaction with the
Was
kids.
it mostly at the high school level, or was it?
It's high school and middle school. We didn't spend a whole lot of time at elementary school, but middle school is where a lot of the prevention efforts happen, where you do presentations and trainings for kids, hoping that some of what you say as far as drug and alcohol prevention and gang violence and sexual assault, that's really where we try to target kids for that prevention. But high school, is more engaging. You go to basketball games and try to engage the kids, and definitely more enforcement when needed at the high schools.
Did you go alone on most things, or did you have a partner when you went out?
You're alone most of the time.
Alone.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And that felt okay? I mean, I imagine you settle into that and you feel comfortable after a while.
Yeah, it felt fine.
It's funny. I hate to go by myself alone. Anyway. Okay, then after being a school, how long were you a school resource officer?
About 2 years.
2 years,
Yeah.
okay.
And then from there I went over to detectives, and I was a detective. And in that position I did both property crimes and person crimes, which included child abuse and sexual assault.
So are the detectives the ones who come with their street clothes on?
They're
come to
usually
work?
dressed in suits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So that's a branch then within the police department, being a detective. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
our department's split into 2 divisions. It's operations and services. Services is evidence, records, dispatch, and then operations is patrol, traffic, investigations, and all the sworn employees.
Interesting. So then you were a detective. How long were you a detective then?
About 2 years.
2 years. And what did you specialize there?
Mostly I did child abuse and sexual assault. I did a little bit of everything. Our agency's not large enough to be that specialized that you can only focus on one area, but for the most part I did child abuse and sexual assault.
Was that kind of sad to do?
You know, it was sad, but on the other hand, it was definitely the most rewarding part of my career so far.
Really?
Absolutely. You know, those are the kind of cases that will keep you up at night, but you think about them for a long time after the case is resolved, and it's a really good feeling knowing that you were a voice for a victim, you know, that couldn't speak for themselves.
Wow. That's interesting. Okay, then after that, being a detective, you put your uniform back on? And
After that, I went back to working the street for a little bit and promoted to sergeant.
okay.
And then I was sergeant on a graveyard shift for about 2 years. And
So what does the sergeant do specifically?
you oversee a team of officers, just make sure they have the tools that they need to be successful, approve reports. If there's a large-scale incident, you take command of the scene. But everybody in our department, as far as officers, you know, they know what to do, they're well-trained, and it's just a matter of being there as a resource if it's needed.
Now, how old were you when you were a sergeant?
30?
30. Okay, so and were there
29.
officers in your team who might be older than you and much more experienced on the job than you?
Yes.
And did they say, yeah, okay, Jennifer, show us the
Yeah,
way?
sometimes you do get that attitude, but you just need to rise above it. I think anybody in any organization, whether it's a police department
Yeah.
or private business, you know, somebody younger may come in and, you know, try to tell you what to do, and you just need to try to build trust with the people that you supervise and be open and honest and consistent and fair, and just hope that they give that to you in return.
Good.
So you can't let those people hold you back.
Good. All right, then after you were as a sergeant, or maybe was this beyond that, what happened next?
So after I was on patrol as a sergeant, I went into professional standards, which is training and hiring, and that was quite a bit of a change from working the street, but we hired a lot of great people and organized department trainings, and so it was a valuable position. And
Good. Good. That kept you busy then, huh?
very busy.
And then you said earlier that was when you also became conscious or maybe experienced in budgets.
Yes, that was my first real grasp of understanding the budget and really having to pay attention to spending as far as you know, keeping in line with what our department goal and mission is, and make sure that we're sending people to the right training and just keeping an eye on the budget and being responsible for it.
So now for the last 4 months, you have been promoted to being a lieutenant of services.
Right.
Okay,
yes.
so tell us what that involves.
So right now I am overseeing evidence, records, and dispatch, and it's all the non-sworn of the department, which are kind of the behind-the-scenes people that you know, greet you at the front counter and that answer the phone when you call 911.
And me when I volunteer.
And all of our great volunteers, and the people that really keep the officers on the street going and provide everything that's needed for them to be successful.
And you're also what is known as the PIO, the Public Information Officer. Tell me what that is all about. I'm interested in that.
So another one of the components is being the press information officer, and anytime
Is that what it stands for? Press information, not public information?
you know, people call it different things.
Okay.
It really goes either way.
Okay.
Just providing information to the news media when needed. All of our supervisors, you know, do a great job of putting out messages and press releases. But if they're not available, and I'm usually the first point of contact.
I've seen your name in the paper a few times. Yeah, so I wondered why. Now I know. That's really
Yeah, well, it's
interesting.
nice because I'm usually there behind a computer and I can answer questions more quickly than somebody can on the street. So
Interesting.
just getting out one clear, consistent message to the public is really our goal.
I think that, yeah, you would be very effective in that. Being clear, being calm, and being consistent. Yeah, that would be good. I can see why that would be important, especially with a major incident. Speaking of that, have you had any major incidents since you've taken over as a PIO of the department?
We've had several major incidents. The most recent one that sticks out was the tragedy out on San Marin and
Novato
Boulevard, right there past that intersection where that young girl was hit by a car. So that was pretty tragic, but again, getting one consistent message that's in line with what we can and can't release as far as information.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we have strict guidelines on what we can put out to the media.
Especially with juveniles. Yeah.
Correct. So juveniles and an active investigation. Media wants as much information as they can get, which is understandable, but also we need to understand and be respectful of our investigation and the victims and everybody that's involved.
Well, I've got to ask you this question, Jennifer, because it's I get this from my husband's friends. I'm going to blame it on them.
Okay.
They're always saying, they're older men, mind you, and they're always saying, I'd never want a female out there protecting my life. How do you deal with that attitude?
Well, I try to ignore it. Some people's attitudes just won't change, and like I mentioned earlier, you deal with everybody with respect and hope that they give you that respect in return. You can't let people like that have kind of a closed-minded perception of what they think is right and what they feel a certain career should be or what that person should look like, and I don't let those people affect me. Now,
I have heard, and I can't remember, something I read, and I should probably give it to you sometime, but it's about that since more women have come into the police department, they, and have introduced verbal skills, that men are the men in the department are having to learn some of the verbal skills that the women have because they found it to be so effective in handling people. And that's something that you are very familiar with, I'm sure.
Well, I haven't seen the article, but it makes sense to me. Mostly females in our department, a lot of us are moms and are used to, trying to remain calm and talk to kids, and I think it's helpful when you bring that experience in. But yeah, I can see how that article makes sense, that females have kind of a sense of calm. Not to say that several of our male officers don't have that same calming effect on people, but it's just a matter of personality, I think, and how you carry yourself on the job.
So what would you do if a 250-pound drunk was attacking you or something like that? What do you do?
You just try to talk to them and understand if they're drunk that you need to be a little more articulate, and as that person gets more and more agitated, you can't feed into that because that just kind of fuels the fire. So you just try to be calm and respectful, and most of the time if you're doing the right thing and saying the right thing, people will calm down and listen and understand what they're doing wrong, and some of them are just so agitated that you need to use physical force, but most of the time you can talk people to where they need to go.
What kind of physical force do you use then?
We're trained in defensive tactics. We certainly have tools on our gun belt. We have an ASP and a taser. And
what's an ASP?
It's an extendable baton.
Okay. And a taser is?
A taser.
The electric.
Right, and pepper spray.
Okay, so you have all those things with you all the time.
We do, and of course our gun, which we would never want to use, last resort. Yeah. But we have all those tools available, and like I said, most of the time, if you can talk somebody, either if they're going to jail and you can make them understand why they're going to jail and the reasons for it, and in a respectful manner, they usually give you that respect in return.
Good. So what do you say to little kids who are thinking about becoming a police officer?
Just never set your limits. Never thought that I would be strong enough or smart enough or witty enough or be able to outthink criminals, and just don't set limits for yourself. And once you do that, then you really do limit what your possibilities are. And just set your goals high, and don't be afraid to set them high, even though some might say that you don't belong in that career and you're not going to be successful, and just set your own goals that are attainable, and just keep setting them higher for yourself.
Yeah. Then you mentioned one time about setting, well, actually maybe that's what you'll say next, because I've got here we've just got a couple more minutes. So if you were to say anything, have any last comments for the viewing audience, what would they be?
Just set achievable goals for yourself. And
small goals, small achievable goals.
Yeah, I think the term is, small wins. And set those goals and achieve them and set the next one higher. And it's a great way to keep yourself motivated and just let you be successful.
You also mentioned when we were talking earlier, preparing for this program, that you said to celebrate those little wins. I thought that was really nice. I think people, you know, we set those goals and then we achieve them, but we don't take the time to, you know, celebrate them and respect ourselves and give ourselves a little bit of pat on the back.
Well, it's always important, you know, when you reach a milestone or you reach those goals, to take time, even if it's a couple minutes, and just think about what you did to get there and enjoy the moment, and then set the next one.
That's great. That's great. Jennifer, this has been a great program. This is really good. Thank you for being here. And I know it's a time out from your family, and it's hard for you to take all this extra time out of your schedule to be on what you do as a police officer. That's fabulous.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, and thank you all the crew members around here who are taking care of the cameras and directing behind the scenes there. Crew members, when I say Seroptimus members, club members of Seroptimus International of Novato. And also thank you to Rick Tucker and Leon Johnson with Novato Public Access Television for being the people behind the scenes to make this all happen. And most of all, thank you, the viewing audience, for being here.